Good, beautiful morning this morning. Nice and sunny, kind of partly cloudy. It's sunny for me right now, 80 degrees, and it's 10:30 in the morning. And if you're living in Anchorage, Alaska, it's 63 degrees. And if you're in Ciudad Obregón, it's 84 degrees, but it's cloudy, so it's nice and humid. Okay, let's get on to the subject at hand. I had a question from Mark Griffiths on, okay, what he wants to do is he has golfers, and he wants to have it where it follows the lines of how they do the stroke, or it makes a line to show where the ball is going to go. It kind of has a little arc and so on and so forth, so you can see the ball. And that's what he wants to do. Now, it's not something that can be easily done in Final Cut Pro, but it can easily be done in Motion. And I'm going to show you what I did that's similar to this. Okay, this is a commercial that I made recently, and it's got this little swoosh in it. But the real one that I'm going to focus on is this one right here. See how it's curved and animates and follows like that? Now mine goes bigger as it goes, but that's fine. We can modify it and change it to however we want. Okay, now again, this is not something that can be done easily in Final Cut Pro. In fact, even if you build the template in Motion, you won't be able to transfer it to Final Cut Pro easily, and I'll explain why. But it's not something, it's something where you'll want to export your clips into, export your clip, put it into Motion, do the effect in Motion, and then bring it back into Final Cut Pro when you're done. Or export it from Motion and bring it back into Final Cut Pro. Okay, so we are going to make a new project. Now, when I originally did this, I did it as a title, and the reason was because I was going to apply it several times, and the swoosh was going to be in the same size, same shape, and I just wanted to be able to move it around into different locations. So if you notice with this commercial, when I do the commercial, I have the swoosh here, and even though it goes slow, I still have it here, and then I also have it. Where is it? I have it here, and then I have it near the end, right there. So it's the same thing, and I just wanted to be able to apply it really easily. So I'm going to make, in this particular case, I'm going to make a 5-second project. And we're just going to do the swoosh thingy. And I'm going to make a Motion project this time, and this is because I'm going to just export the thing when I'm done. Okay, here's our empty project. And always I make this fit, and I like to have this transparent, and I'm going to throw this in here. This is a still image, and this is what I use as a reference. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a Bezier. I'm going to use a Bezier tool and make 2 points. 1 point here, 1 point here, and that's it. So then I'm just going to click over here, and I've got a line. Now, if I go to my inspector, I'll look and I can see my fill and my outline are on, but I'm going to turn my fill off. What happens is when I start to curve this line, it will come up here and curve like this, the line will, but then it'll also have this stuff here and it'll all be full. So I'm going to turn the fill off. Okay. Now I'm going to use this Edit Points tool that's down here under the arrow, and I'm going to right click on this and go to Smooth. Right click on this one and go to Smooth, and I get these little nodes that I can drag, and as I pull them you can see that it curves the line. So I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to put this one up here like this. So this gives me the curvature that I want. Let's move this up a little bit. Okay, so those are the 2 points. Now if I wanted to do like a semicircle or something like that, I can easily do the same thing just by doing it the same way. So using these 2 points, I can curve it and mess with it, and that's all I need. In fact, you can actually do almost a full circle if you are to put them together. So you can do some pretty good loopy type stuff if you want. And if you have 3 points, you could probably do a full circle. Or even 4 points, I'm sure you could do a full circle. So this is good for arcs. All you need is 2 points and the nodes to make the arcs. Okay, so there we go. Now, let's go into the coloring of everything and the animation of everything. All right, I'm going to do this shape style thing because you can see all the little presets. It's got some funny little things. So if I do traditional, let's do these little bubbles, rings. It's going to make all these little rings. Let me zoom in on this so you can see it better. Use the hand tool. Okay, so you can see those rings there, right? Now, as you watch, you can see the brush profile. It's got this little goofy stuff with the opacity. If we are to pull these out, you'll see it basically become a solid line. Okay, let's change styles. Let's do this light one. And you can see the brush profile is like this here. The brush type is airbrush. And what happens is, as it starts to move, it goes like this. Okay, and you have your first point offset and your last point offset. These things have keyframes on them. And if we go over to advanced, we have all these different little things here that give us, like spin will give us a little bit of a twisty. We can change things like that. Life, that tells you how long the particles are going to live. Emission range. And then stroke, this is where the real animation happens, is in the stroke, because this is where you can make your coloring change and so on and so forth. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the style, and I'm going to do, let's see. What I did for the original one was I used light, and I used this light streak here. See that? And what I did in my particular case was I went to the stroke here and I made the scale larger so that it would start small and go big. And then you can see there's keyframes here. What I did was I went to the end keyframe and I deleted it so that it would stay once it got to this point. Okay? And if you watch the stroke, you'll see how the opacity is animated like that. See that? See how it squeezes in and out as I scrub back and forth? Okay, so let's animate that with different colors. All we have to do is come in here. Let's go to the last keyframe. Change this color to green. Change this one to green. Let's do them both green. We'll go to the next keyframes. We kind of have to do this to all the keyframes, unfortunately. Come on, get in there. Green. Green. You know what? I should probably move this up over here. And let's go to the first keyframe. Green. Green. Okay, so now it's all green. All right, and now let's bring this brush scale down to 75%. And we have a pretty thin line, all right? Okay, now what if we went to this last keyframe and brought this opacity back to right there, and this one to right there? All right, so if I click off of it, I have this little line that does that. And that's pretty much what I want. It's going to animate over 1 second, so it's going to go boom, real fast actually. Remember, this is playing, but it's playing a lot slower than real time. But you can see it animate, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So as we mess with these things, if I wanted it to go longer, let me go to my last keyframe here. If I wanted it to go longer, I could just come back here. Let's go 2 seconds, make another keyframe, and then go to the previous one and just delete it, and it'll interpolate between the two. So now it's taking longer to animate. All right, so now again, if I wanted to make it a different shape, I can also do that. And it'll still animate the same way. Now remember, I use the light preset, but you can modify it with any of the presets, and then you can modify the presets as well. So if I go back over to style, change the style to ballpoint heavy. Okay. This particular one does not animate. Well, let's not use ballpoint heavy. It looks kind of silly. Let's try pencil 2 soft. No, it's not strong enough. No, pointy would be weird. Let's try a medium dash. All right, let's animate this one. This one is not animated right now. Here, let's put this point right up here so it looks like it connects the two. All right, so this one's not animated. It's just going to kind of sit there like that. So I'm going to come in here at 2 seconds. Now remember, I always animate in reverse. So what I do is I set my keyframes to where I want everything, and then I do the animation backwards from there. So what I'll do is I'll go to my stroke, and I have opacity over time. I'm going to put 2 pieces in here. And let's put 3. Let's make this one be 0 opacity. This one be real close. Make that one be a 0. So we got 4 different opacity settings in here, okay? This will just make it easier to animate. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to go back here. And let's actually go to 5 frames. And let's bring these back like this. And then now let's go to 0. We're going to turn these off. And bring them in a little closer. All right, now let's watch what it does. See that? Pretty cool. All right, so this is a little different than what I was originally setting out to do, but this kind of gives you an idea of what you can do with this type of thing. Now, if you wanted it to follow something, that's a totally different story, and that's something we've got to work on separately. But basically, you set your start and your stop, and then you go into those nodes and change those nodes, and you can make whatever curvature you want. And then you just do the animation after that with the stroke. Okay? So that's how you do these kinds of curvy lines animated in motion. Unfortunately, like I said, this does not translate to Final Cut Pro. And the reason it does not is because even though I can edit these nodes here, I cannot edit these control points in Final Cut Pro. What happens is if I set these over in Final Cut Pro, I'll be able to move these around, but I won't be able to mess with these control points. So while this curvature works here, actually let's put it back the way it's supposed to be. While this curvature works here, on something else it won't work. So in Final Cut Pro, even though I can move these points around, I won't be able to adjust the nodes. So while this may work for this particular effect, if I were to try to apply it somewhere else and get a different curvature, all I would be able to do would be to move these points, and I wouldn't be able to get this to go up as like an arc like that because I wouldn't be able to move the control points. Unfortunately, that's just something that is a limitation between Motion and Final Cut Pro. I can move the points, but I can't move the control points. I mean, I can move the control points, but I can't move these little nodes. So that's it. So unfortunately, you have to stick with Motion to be able to do this kind of stuff. All right. That's all I have for you guys. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to do whatever I can to give you an answers as best I can. All right. Thank you very much for watching.